Reese from Stoic Pool is trying something a little bit more unique for his Project Catalyst proposal. It is a staking DAO. It's a decentralized autonomous organization for staking. So all of these stake pools out there, there are a lot of small ones and they're struggling to get a lot of delegation or the delegation required to mint a block every epoch. This will collectively organize a large stake, and depending on its voting process that goes through it, it will delegate to various stake pools. And this interview will go through the entire process of how it works, a couple of the concepts behind it all, and we dive straight into it. So let's get into the interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
I have Reese joining me on this episode. He's a stake pool operator from Stoic Pool, and he's putting together a really interesting Project Catalyst proposal called Staking DAO. Is that right, Reese?
Yeah, that's it. That's
all right, absolutely fantastic. I've had a read over it. I got a really good understanding, and it seems pretty interesting. And thank you, Reese, for joining me on this podcast to talk all about it.
Mate, thanks for having me. I really appreciate that you. I kind of messaged you out of the blue, and then you were like, "Yeah, let's do it. Here's the times." You know, like you're incredibly responsive, and I appreciate that.
Well, I know it's proposal season. So I'm expecting people to contact me left, right, and center at the moment. So it's totally fine. I'll try and get as many out there as possible, but I pick the ones that I think have potential. So it's good to see ones like this come through.
Thank you.
So first off, let's start with a little bit of your background so that people actually know who we're talking to here. How did you get into the crypto space, and how did you specifically get into Cardano?
Oh, well, I haven't been asked that before because it's kind of not been needed, I guess. But yeah, so I got into crypto. Well, I almost got into crypto years ago. And one of like the first, what we call the first Bitcoin bull run, I guess. But I didn't, because back then I heard about what was going on and I thought, I missed the boat. What an idiot. So I forgot about it for like 5 years or something. Yeah. And then during lockdown, when COVID kind of first hit, I was like talking with some of my mates, and I'd been keeping my eye on crypto, like resurfaced again in the back of my head. And some of them were like thinking about it as well. So we were talking about it. And then I was like, you know what, let's bite the bullet and get involved in this. And I started buying loads of stuff, you know, how everyone does when they first get into crypto, just like watching loads of random YouTubers and like trying to find out what's going on, because it's very hard to learn about a lot of stuff through reading crypto news articles. They don't really tell you anything, do they? So that was it. And then I kind of came across Cardano, and then I kind of obviously bought a little bit. And then when the Shelley hard fork event happened, I was at the online summit that year before for the Shelley hard fork, and I was just diving in and out of all the rooms, like learning about all the stuff that was going on. And I was like, wow, this is something I need to properly get behind. Once Shelley launched, I kind of was keeping up with some Cardano YouTubers, and I saw that people were making stake pools, and I was like, watched a couple of videos, like Kaizen did one for the ITN where he made a stake pool out of Rock Pi. And I thought, oh, wow, you can actually just buy stuff and turn that and make it have a stake pool, like a physical thing. And so that kind of blew my mind. And then I saw Ad Astra, Andrew, really nice guy. He did one, which was like a walkthrough of using the CLI with the guild scripts. And I was like, that kind of made me realize that this is something I could learn to do, right? So I'm one of those people who loves learning stuff. So I basically made it my job for 2 months to learn everything about the CLI, about how Linux operating system worked, about basic networking and like sysadmin stuff and a bit of cybersecurity to feel like I was confident enough to be able to run a pool myself. And I was really lucky because I'm a personal trainer and I do like gymnastics. That's what my job. And so because of that, I haven't got a lot of experience with tech other than like building websites for my personal training business, like something like that. But what I do have is access to loads of people, different clients who work in completely different fields. So one of my clients is like web developer. Another one's it's a couple of French guys. I see these app developers, and I know some cybersecurity guys. So I basically just harassed them for 2 months, finding out everything I needed to learn so that Brilliant. I felt like I was competent enough to be able to kind of take it on. And I probably wasn't when I first launched it. And there were a couple of but probably another month or two afterwards where I was kind of poking holes and searching through all the files and trying to figure out how everything linked together, so that I knew it like the back of my hand. And so that it was like a long tail of education on the back end as well. But that was it really. I kind of went all in after the summit because I kind of saw the potential of it. And since I started the pool, I haven't really looked back, and I've kind of forgotten about every other project. I don't care. I think what a lot of people have with crypto is they get in for the money, but then a lot of people stop there, and that's a big issue in crypto, because even when it's popular because of people wanting to get rich quick, rather than people understanding and building the ecosystem. Like decentralization sounds like a good idea. And everyone's like, oh yeah, decentralization, that's the thing. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to be built for that to actually work properly. And a lot of people who get into crypto don't care about building the thing. And so, we need to build the stuff to actually have that ecosystem that we're aiming for, I think.
Yeah, I found it very similar to my personal journey as well. It's like I was getting back into crypto in 2020, 2021. And I want to do a little bit more than just, buy and sell, trade and whatever. I didn't want to be a day trader. I wanted to actually like participate in the project. And running a stake pool seemed like the best and easiest option out of everything I analyzed. I wasn't going to go down the Ethereum mining path again.
You did mining, did you?
Yeah. Not serious mining, like just little rigs and stuff. Like I could set up in an apartment, but nothing like a full mining. That's pretty
cool, though. I've been looking into rigs just for I've discovered from going out. Like I took my pool bare metal off the clouds recently, and in building a computer, and then I built like a water cooled Raspberry Pi system, which is what the pools run on now.
Which is amazing. I've seen photos and everything that you posted.
Oh, thanks,
I absolutely love it.
You know what? I realized that I actually love building stuff. Like this is another thing that I realized. I got so excited about it. And so I looked at some mining rigs as well, because I thought, oh, what else can I build? But it's with the low hash rate thing. And I was going to do an Ergo rig, because obviously it's a bit closer to Cardano. So I thought, I can justify dabbling in that,
Yeah.
But I never pursued it because I thought, it's a lot of work, and where am I going to put it? I live in a flat in London, so I can't really have it sat in the living room.
Precisely, and they're so noisy as well. So I'm in a small flat apartment here in the Gold Coast, and it's the same situation. But here I've got the sea breeze coming through, rusting the computer equipment, and the high humidity and heat as well. So it's just not workable here.
Yeah, my problem in my flat is dust. Like this is the dustiest place in the world that I've ever been to. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from. Nowhere else I've lived has it been this dusty. But is it even affecting you? Look, that's how bad it is. It's contagious, mate.
It's terrible. All right. So as a stake pool operator, you know how hard it is to gain delegation and actually grow your stake pool. So to actually be able to mint blocks and produce rewards for your delegates, you have to have that delegation over, and you need that certain thresholds to actually get over a certain point to mint blocks consistently. So you're putting together a Project Catalyst proposal that is going to help with this. Can you give us the 30-second elevator pitch that explains the idea and concept?
Yeah, of course. So Staking DAO is what the proposal's called, and it was birthed as a way of tackling the pool ranking system issue that's becoming more and more apparent as stake pools, as Cardano becomes more popular. So what it does is it provides a platform for users, instead of delegating to the top 50 stake pools, Instead, you have a choice of groups of stake pools. So you'll have eco-friendly or bare metal or mission-driven or single pool operators. And you'll choose to delegate to a group of stake pool operators instead. And what the DAO does is it takes that choice, and it takes everyone who went for that group, say eco-friendly, just for argument's sake, and then it distributes everyone's delegation to all of those pools and tries to balance delegation out across the network. The idea is decentralization of stake, because decentralization is obviously a layered thing. It's not just 3,000 pools, it's 3,000 pools actively minting blocks. Right? So yeah, that's basically what it's for.
It sounds simple, but it must be a lot harder to organize. Like firstly, it's hard to gain delegation for a single pool. So now, from what I understand, you're trying to get delegation to the DAO. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then how is that going to then stake to a group of pools or single pools, or I'm trying to understand that entire mechanism and flow, so that me as a user, if I am delegating to a DAO, how does that work for the pool operator and how the dots connected essentially?
Yeah, so this is like it's a lot simpler than you imagine.
Okay.
Because this obviously hasn't been able to be built previously because we didn't have access to like the PAB, but now the PAB's kind of around. We can use the functionality that's built into Cardano. So instead of having like contracts that lock up ADA, like you're not delegating to the DAO, but instead you're delegating with the DAO. So what happens is a user creates a basket, and we call it a basket for a UI friendly, like user friendly term. But basically what it is a staking script, and it has a new staking address for a user's wallet. So what we're doing is essentially solving the multi-pool delegation from one wallet solution. We've kind of created something like that. And the way that it works is you delegate, you instead of having your normal staking address, which you have in your Roy or your Daedalus or your Nami, you create a new one. And you basically allow the DAO to choose where that staking address is directed, like to which stake pool. And you choose how much ADA you put into that. So normally you just delegate your entire wallet to whichever stake pool you delegate to. But with this process, it enables users to put something separate. So you can say, I have 1,000 ADA. I've been supporting ADA-Oz since the Shelly, or since the start of your stake pool. So I'm very loyal, obviously, because a lot of delegators are. But, a part of me wants to support mission-driven pools or eco-friendly pools. So I can choose to just stick 100 ADA into that staking address or that basket with the DAO. And the DAO will use all those baskets to then distribute to eco-friendly or bare metal or whoever. So just like normal staking, your ADA is always in your wallet. So you can send it, you can spend it, you can sell it, you can trade it, you can do whatever you like with your ADA. So we really just use the current mechanism for staking, and but with the functionality of the PAB, so that we can create a solution that kind of solves or attempts to solve these issues that are showing up.
Gotcha. Because that was the thing that I didn't quite understand. So from a technical point of view, like you look at a regular wallet at the moment, you have a staking key. That stake key and address points to one specific pool. I was wondering, how are you going to get around that to actually delegate to different pools? And I didn't realize that the PAB, the Plutus application backend, allowed you to actually do that and point off to different stake pools with a new stake key. So
the thing about the PAB is it's brand new, right? And there are a bunch of tools in there. There are a bunch of functions built in, but even the Plutus pioneers don't know what these things can do. So I got really fortunate. We were discussing this idea in one of the stake pool operator groups around just before the Fund 7 proposal submission. And everyone was going on this is a single pool alliance, and some of the stake pool operators in there like to moan about stuff, because they see problems, and they were like, oh yeah, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be fixed. When's IOG going to deal with this problem? And I was like, look, guys, we need to just make a thing that does it, because you can't rely on IOG to build everything. Like we're the stake pool operators. We run the network. It's not like IOG have loads of stake pools or anything. They're just developers, essentially. So we need to pull our finger out. We need to get this stuff done, you know? So I was like, right, I'm going to submit a DAO proposal and we're going to do it. We're going to build the thing. And there was mixed opinions about that. Because people didn't understand how we could try and solve it. And at the time, I didn't. But I've been lucky that I've had a bunch of people just come out of the woodwork to want to work on the DAO and to be a part of it. And one particular guy, a Plutus dev, he was like, messaged me and he's like, yeah, I do Plutus. I was in the first or second cohort. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. But he's like, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. And less than a week or about 3 days later, we had tests running on the testnet. We had different scripts trying to figure it out in different ways. And we've had like, in the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've had 4 or 5 different iterations of how this thing will work. So we already really have a solution that works and functions. It's just not deployed at scale, because we're obviously working on this in our spare time. And but the functionality in Plutus is amazing. And the things you can do, like, there are ways that you can assign control to certain aspects of the Cardano, whether it's in a user's wallet or whether it's a user's staking address, for example. Like, these are all built with private keys. So it's not like, one thing that was really important, obviously, is the security of your ADA if you're staking with a DAO. And building something like this, I'm kind of staking my reputation on it as well. So I needed to work right. Yeah. So
yeah,
once we found out that we could do it in a way that works with Cardano, we're not building a contract with a lockup period or anything like that. And we're not taking ADA. You're not sending ADA to a DAO. Like, even though we kind of, it shows like that, really it just stays in your wallet. And so only you can withdraw rewards. Only you can choose to deposit into that staking address. And so even though the DAO is able to move that around and point it at different stake pools, it never really, it has, that's the element of control that it has. It doesn't have any other way. So it kind of adds to the security layer as well. And this stuff's all just built into the PAP. Just people haven't built it yet because it's so new.
That's really cool. That's like so from previous DAOs, like the DAO, where a lot of Ethereum was sent to back in the day. I think it was 2016. Yeah. That got hacked. It was all sent to the addresses and whatnot, and the smart contracts. Those smart contracts were hacked, and hence the Ethereum blockchain was forked back in the day. So it's really important that you have that custody, your self custody of those assets, and you're doing it the Cardano way. So that's definitely key. And I like that also the idea. I think you described as the stake, the voted stake pool where things go to. Is it automated? Is that correct?
Yeah. So what happens is there's your staking address, your new staking address in that script is basically you set a rule for it for the DAO. So like eco-friendly or bare metal pools. And then the DAO kind of has that as the rule for that staking script or that basket. And what happens is that just before the snapshot for every epoch, it collects up all of the delegation through those baskets. So it might be 100 ADA off every user, for example, and then you've got 10 million ADA. Like, that'd be pretty cool, but we'll just go with that. And there's 10 pools, so it'll just shuffle out a million ADA to every pool, or however it works best for it to balance. So what the DAO will do is it'll just be some off-chain logic, and it'll go, these are the inputs, like the values of the total stake in every stake pool. And this is the amount of ADA we have for this group of stake pool operators. And then it'll say, how do we make this as balanced as possible? So that's kind of how it'll work. And then it submits everything as a single transaction, and delegation goes distributed.
Brilliant. Yeah. Mechanics sounds actually quite simple. So how do people then participate in the voting side and decide who or what pools get delegation?
So stake pool operators join the DAO. They become a member of the DAO, and that's how they have to kind of sign a declaration saying that they are a single pool. Silly old Mike. That they're a single pool operator. They have to declare that like the information that they've submitted is accurate, because we have a maximum variable fee, because we don't want people to take advantage of it. We're also, which I didn't have in that document I sent you because I wrote that while I had COVID, so my brain wasn't really working. But we're going to have a minimum pledge rule as well, so people can't just spin up 1,000 pools and rinse the system. And they obviously have the declaration that they're a single pool operator. If we find out, or if anyone finds out, usually Cardano, Twitter, you know what they're like.
Oh yeah,
you can't get anything past the community. So if something comes about where it says this state pool operator is actually doing this or doing this, then they'll just be removed from the DAO automatically, or it'll likely, I say automatically, it'll go to a vote. The DAO will just send out a tweet and go, listen guys, we got to vote on this thing. Everyone votes with their DAO token, the governance token, which they'll earn from participating. And then based on the vote, they'll just get kicked out straight away. So ultimately, there'll be layers of governance, because DAOs are a lot more complicated than most DAOs that already exist. Basically, some kind of DeFi protocol. They usually lock up a bunch of cryptocurrency, and then they do something similar to yield farming, or like some automated rebasing of value to try and earn some money for everyone. But this is like more of an actual process rather than it's more of like an actual thing rather than what a lot of DAOs are currently operating on. So voting is going to be a massive part of how this thing has to function, because otherwise there's always going to be someone like our team who are going to be controlling the DAO, which is the wrong thing for a DAO. Like the idea is that it's community owned and community run. So we're going to have layers of voting, because it's going to take that, similar to how Catalyst works, where you have like your first round of improvement proposals or something, where people will submit ideas, and then there'll be a phase of people for something to go to a community vote. It will need to have a solution in place, a rough cost of what it's going to take, so that the DAO can decide or distribute those funds accordingly to have that work done. But with regards to state pool operators, it's going to be like a membership, so that they have to declare that they're being honest, and then the DAO can reserve the right to kick you if we find out that you're actually being naughty. And that's kind of how it will work.
Okay, great. So that sounds all straight and forward. So what about the tokens? You said so token and voting power. How does that come into play? Like how does a state pool operator earn tokens? Is it based on how much they contribute into the ecosystem?
So there's going to be a fixed distribution of tokens. So there's going to be a fixed amount of DAO tokens, which we don't have a name yet for exactly, because the acronyms that we come up with sounded pretty bad. Like basically, like staking DAO. How would that work? But so what we've done, what's going to happen? This mystery named token is going to be distributed with a fixed amount per pool. So say there are 1,000 pools, every pool will get 1,000 tokens, and so much will go to the state pool operators, and then the rest will get distributed among delegators. And so it'll be automatic, just as part of the normal rewards mechanism for state pools. So where we get our fixed fee and our variable fee, we'll also get DAO tokens, similar to how like an ISPO might work. Except it'll be distributed every epoch rather than all in one go. And so that's where it's participation in the DAO that will have you earn those tokens. We have considered doing a kind of a pre-launch where people have the option to buy it, but it's very risky doing something like that, because you're basically giving people the opportunity to buy power and control over the DAO, which we might need to do, because the DAO is going to have to build some kind of treasury so that it can pay for itself. It can pay for its computer, its hosting, its servers, or however it's distributed, and obviously pay for work to be done on it. So we might need to do something like that. But if we do it, it'll probably be a very small amount, like a 5% of the total supply, as a way to stop someone from having too much control of the DAO without participating. Because as soon as you do that, there's always a risk that someone's a bad actor. And for something that's owned by the community, we need to make sure that we kind of preempt as many of these issues as possible so that we can avoid them becoming issues when we don't have control over it anymore.
Yeah, the whole tokenomic side of things is a fun game, especially when you're putting governance into play as well. So take your time with that. It's
one of those things that people haven't really figured out yet. You know, it's like it's all so new, and even other DAOs, like other DAOs that exist on Ethereum, they say they have governance, and the more I've researched it, the less I see any real evidence of that. You know, there is voting, you know, but it almost seems like, oh yeah, we'll just chuck voting in and then call it a DAO. You know, it doesn't seem like people have really done the required critical thinking to figure out a lot of these problems. They've gone, we'll solve it when we solve it, you know, and it's really important that it's done right.
Sometimes you can just put the word DAO into your project and, you know, your token sells just that much more successful. So
that was my initial thought. I was just going to like make a bunch of DAO tokens and make a bunch of money, you know? Like,
the truth comes out.
I'm joking, by the way. I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
All right. So overall, the whole project sounds really cool. Have you looked into the competition or what other proposals are doing at the moment, or if there are any other projects around that are doing something very similar?
So there are a lot of projects at the minute that are trying to tackle some of the problems that the DAO's addressing. But because they're all trying to address them in different ways, so they all have different solutions. For example, Stakeboard. So Stakeboard is a project that's up right now, and they are like a board, like a board for promoting your stake pools. So someone could go to Stakeboard and it would suggest a pool for you. Essentially, you can maybe add some criteria, or you could have a look through a list of different groups of pools and kind of find someone. So that kind of takes the research out of a project. Because that's something that a lot of users have an issue with. You know, they're just presented with a top 50. If I opened a Yoroi wallet and I had just bought ADA on Binance and I was given a top 50, like I'm not researching stake pool operators. I'm not trying to find out what stake pool. I'm going, well, these are the top 50. Like, why am I I'm going to pick number one, you know?
Yep.
So there's that. There's another one called Pool Boost. Pool Boost is interesting. I might have misunderstood how this works, but it basically Pool Boost, their project is to create a bunch of stake pools and everyone stake to them. And then the rewards from that are distributed to other stake pools, which seems, although it's a very creative solution, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it seems like they're centralizing themselves. And who controls that ADA? You know, like they say it goes to a vote, and obviously it will go to a vote. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but they control the ADA ultimately, unless I've misread that. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just give it to the stake pool operators. But from what I've seen, that seems to be what will happen. So really, delegating to that as a solution would just mean that they get loads of ADA, and then they stake to someone else, which isn't. It's a solution and it would function, but is it the best solution for the problem? Which, I mean, it's up to you guys. I can't tell you that. But the idea of the DAO hasn't really been addressed in the same way as what we're trying to solve. Because a lot of people, the PAB, as I've said, is so new, people don't really know what you can do with it. And I'm really lucky that the guy who, the Plutus dev who I've got working for me is actually so well versed in what the PAB can do, because he's asking IOG, we're asking IOG about stuff, and they're going, oh yeah, you know, it's possible, but they don't have an answer for us. And then he's doing some experiments, and we're sitting on Discord chatting about it. Maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this. And then we're just testing stuff. And I think that because we've had that approach to building it, and it's thanks to him, honestly, that we've been able to come up with something that actually seems to solve the problem, and solve a couple of problems. You know, it solves the pool ranking system. It solves the decentralized or the current centralization of stake, which is like the direction we're moving. And it makes delegation a lot easier for users as well, as like an auto stake option. You know, they go, I want to support bare metal pools, and then it's done. And the DAO does all the work in distributing that in the best way for the ecosystem. So there are a lot of other solutions. There are loads that are popping up at the minute because they're perhaps suddenly available for people to build stuff on, but there doesn't seem to be a lot that's actually addressing the functionality of the PAP itself. Instead, they're building layer like front end solutions like UIs and stuff like that, which are great, but because they don't have a back end that automates it in the same way, I think we probably have one of the better solutions for these problems.
I did read over that with some of the other solutions that you essentially need to follow where you are supposed to delegate to. So if you're supposed to delegate to, these eco pools, then you need to change your delegation at some point in time and follow the delegation around. So it is a very manual process, and I do like the automation part. I am a part of another pool group that's called a FL2B, First to Lifetime Block. And they're like a seeding group that help state pools get their first block, or boost them to get multiple blocks.
The XSPO group as well, and these are really important. And this is something that we've considered for the DAO as well. So we have currently 4 like main membership groups. You have bare metal, eco-friendly, mission-driven, and single pool operators, kind of for those who don't have the infrastructure needed to be in one of the other groups. But then we have another one for seeding stake pools, because onboarding new stake pools, getting your first lifetime block is so difficult. Like, where do you get those delegators from? And this is something I've done a video on the channel. But what we're doing essentially is giving people the option to opt in to delegate to a seed pool or to seed a new pool. And the way that's going to work is you can apply as a stake pool operator to get that kind of seed fund or seed delegation. Sorry, it's not really a fund. And what the DAO will do is it'll just be like a list. So first come, first serve, because as far as we can see so far, that's the easiest and most the fairest way to do it. But it will aim to have a 1 million ADA basket and delegate 1 million ADA to seed a pool, and it will give it 5 epochs. So these are running loose figures. They're not set in stone, and this is just what we've come up with for the sake of testing it. But 1 million ADA is like an average chance of maybe minting 1 block per epoch. So obviously none of that's guaranteed because of randomness, but so it's a nice round number. It's a nice number to work with, and the DAO will attempt to provide a stake pool with that delegation from a seed group. So it relies on users taking part as well, but providing that ADA to a stake pool for 5 epochs. And ultimately, we want to be able to do more than that. We don't want to just have 1 million ADA and everyone waits 5 epochs for that fund. Like, it would be really cool if we could get enough participation from the community to be able to do 5 million. And then we'd have 5 groups of baskets so we could seed 5 pools at a time. And so that seeding pools, like that first to lifetime block, is a great initiative as well. Is it 2 blocks or is it 1? The first lifetime block?
It's it depends on how much delegation that pool operator has put into their delegation cycles. So, okay. For example, if you put in 1,000, you only get 1 epoch, and if you don't mint during that epoch, then unfortunately you won't get another epoch. But
it just cycles round and round and round, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So this is a way that we could do it, and it would be really nice to actually talk to you about this, or some of the other guys in the group, because figuring out what would be a fair way to do it, or the most fair way that would mean as many people get the support as possible, is kind of where we're trying to go with the DAO. Like, this isn't solely my ingenious idea. You know, this is a combination of conversations I've had with every pool group that I'm a member of, like running a solar powered Pi, Armada, Single Pool Alliance, Bare Metal, eco-friendly. So having conversations with all of these guys has helped me to kind of get input from everyone and figure out answers to the difficult questions and how we could approach to solve these things. So it's not like I've been sitting and I'm like, oh yes, I've come up with this fantastic DAO. You know, it's not me. It's a combination of everyone, and I've just kind of brought everything together, and we've got some guys to actually build the thing. So talking about that with you outside of this would be great if you could do that.
Yeah, definitely the idea and concept of what you're doing in terms of the governance side of things, in terms of the automation side of things for the delegates as well. You definitely have an advantage there, especially if you've built a couple of solutions, a couple of ideas. The FL2B group have spent the last year working through their rules and how things are set up to make things fair to all the different operators and getting through the list and cycles as quickly as possible.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Like, I'm tackling this problem now with the minimum pledge because, like, who am I to tell you how much you need? You know, like, how can I give you a hard cutoff? It's not fair for me to just be like, I decide and that's it. Like, I don't see how that works. And when we set a rule, because we're going to have to, a lot of people are going to feel like that's what I've done. You know, but on our Discord, I'm already putting that question out to people, and I'm trying to get feedback from as many state pool operators as possible. Because this time last year, I could have said, if we were building this, I could have said it's 25K. You need a pledge of 25K. It's a lot harder to say that now.
Oh yeah,
you know, because of the price of ADA. In September, I'd have been crucified for saying something like that. They'd be like, well, that's 50 grand. Where are we going to get that money from? So it's finding that balance. And there are ways, we're looking into ways that we can tie the minimum pledge rule to the price of ADA. So depending on when you get in and what the cost of ADA is, then maybe we have some kind of balancing threshold there that will adjust as the price increases or decreases. But we don't, obviously the project's 4 weeks old. We've been focusing on building the solution. So these things are something that we're approaching now, and we're trying to figure out now.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things to work through and think about. Now, probably my last question that I really want to understand is from a delegate's point of view. When a delegate's moving from Binance or a large exchange, whatever it is, Coinbase, and they're moving it for the first time over to a cold wallet, such as Yoroi, Daedalus, and then delegating to one of the pools. From my conversations, their initial thing that they want and they're after is ROA, return on their ADA. So they're looking 100%. At those stats, go, that's the pool I want because it's historically showing 6 point whatever percent. And that looks like a good pool. And of course, that is never the case. You don't get that right after a hard luck period. So from a delegate's point of view, if they're staking to a DAO, what type of ROA would they see? Have you thought about this yet?
Yeah. So obviously to get participation from people, we need to be able to provide that, you know. So the advantage of spreading across multiple pools means that we can control how that works in a way that we basically are consistently providing rewards. So that's really important for the desirability of people to use the DAO. So the way that we're trying to build the solution is so that if someone's coming off Binance, for example, they have their locked staking functions where they kind of guarantee maybe like 5 or 6%, whatever. And so we're basically providing a solution similar to that, where we kind of source rewards from pools, or we feed pools enough so that they can provide that delegation. Those kind of rewards. You obviously get the DAO token on top of that. And depending on what pool you end up delegating to, you would also get rewards from whatever they're doing, because a lot of SPOs are providing extra incentive rewards as well. And just being part of that pool through the DAO will qualify for you to get those rewards as well. So there's often a lot of extra treats that you'll get just by delegating in real life rather than doing it on an exchange. The issue comes in right at the start, because at the start, we're not going to have 10, 20 million ADA that we're distributing across multiple pools. If we did, then it would never, the issue of missing blocks on epochs wouldn't be an issue. But if we launch and we only have 10,000 ADA come into any particular bucket, like, we're not going to be able to guarantee any pool makes any particular block with that much ADA. So we need to have a set of rules for the initial like onboarding process until we hit like a whatever threshold that enables us to provide delegation to everyone. So initially we're thinking of having some kind of balancing rotation, similar to what you're saying with the first to lifetime blocks group, where up until we have maybe 10 million ADA, we're going to be creating groups of 1 million, like bundling it up, similar to how we're doing with seed pools, so that we can guarantee users of the platform get rewards as well, rather than just trying to supply as much ADA to all the stake pool operators. So we need to find a way to market this well before we launch and onboard enough users as a pre-launch to kind of, hopefully we never come up against that problem. But at the same time, we need to have that solution in place for when we launch, to prevent us from just giving everyone all the stake pools 100 ADA and being like, hopefully this helps, because let's be honest, it won't.
Yeah.
So it's another issue. It's another thing that we need to consider, and it's another obstacle that we need to solve. We need to solve this problem before we really roll it out on mainnet.
Okay, brilliant. So you thought about a whole lot of things here. It's quite detailed, and I absolutely love the idea. How can people find out more about the project, and how can they engage with you guys too?
So you can follow the Staking DAO on Twitter. It's a very new profile, so we have like 8 tweets or something.
Okay.
But it's at Staking DAO. You can also join our Discord channel, our Discord server. I'll give you a link for that. So you can come in and you can ask questions. We have places for you to submit ideas or feature requests, and it's an open discussion about how we can build the DAO in the best way. Because we're doing this for the community. We're not doing it like I'm not going to be the CEO of Staking DAO or anything like that. It's you can check out our Catalyst proposal. You can, which I'll give you a link for. I'm an open book, so if you want to reach out to me, message me on Twitter, tag me in anything at Stoic Pool or through the Staking DAO. I'm always open for discussion, suggestions, and anything that people have.
I'll put all the links down below in the show notes to the Catalyst proposal, the Discord link, and also the Twitter profile, so everyone can find out a little bit more, follow the project, and ask any of the questions. Really drill you guys for anything, and actually join the community. That's probably the most important thing as well. So if you're a stake pool operator, this is definitely something that you probably want to jump on and support as well.
Yeah, we actually are taking stake pool operators signups already. We've had 35 or 40 stake pool operators already sign up to the DAO for like early access membership. So if you are a stake pool operator and you're interested, you can go to stakingdao.ai and sign up. And we don't ask for any personal information off you. We ask for the pool ticker, the ID of the pool, obviously, and we ask for one form of contact. So it doesn't need to be your email or your phone number. It can be like your Twitter handle. It just needs to be somewhere where we can actually contact you to let you know about developments. So that's an option for stake pool operators as well to get in early.
Absolutely brilliant. Reese, this has been very exciting. It's a really cool development, and I wish you the best of luck with creating a DAO. It's not an easy task.
Thank you so much for having me on, Pete. I really appreciate you having me on. It's nice to talk about it and explain what we're working on, because it's hard to get a lot of this information out, especially for Catalyst proposals. And everyone I've spoken to has asked different questions, and you've kind of filled in all the gaps from what other people have asked. And I can see you've really thought about the consequences and the problems that DAOs face. So I really appreciate you asking.
Okay, not a problem. We'll chat again soon, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this gets through the line. I'll be pushing it along and during the voting process. All the links for the proposal, etc., socials, whatever, all in the description down below. If you find this content useful and interesting, please share it out, and also give us that thumbs up, click subscribe, and click on the notification bell, and you hear more really great content from us soon.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.